Okay, we are on our second day of 5.1, and if you recall, what we talked about was slope yesterday, and slope really represented a steepness on a graph. When we think about the steepness, we think how fast y is really changing. So today, we did a lot of analyzing with graph and table. Today we're going to extend it to say, hey, let's pretend I give you 2 points. How can you find the slope between 2 points? What you're really looking for is your change in y over your change in x. When you think about change in y as a slope, well, if you think about how you changed, think about how you changed in your height from like 6th grade to 8th grade. How do we represent that change? Well, clearly most of us got taller from 6th grade to 8th grade, and how do we determine that height change? Well, what we do is we take a difference, so it would be like the difference in y over the difference in x. Well, let's think about difference again. Think that you are your 6th grade self, and you have your 6th grade height, and then you have your 8th grade height. Which height would you take first if you were to take the difference? You would take your second height first. You would take your 8th grade height and subtract your 6th grade height. It works the same way here. When we say the difference in y in our world, we say y's of 2. That means your second y. Y's of 2, take away y's of 1. That means your first y. All over x of 2, which is your second x, take away x of 1, which is your first x. That is how we find the slope between 2 points. Let's go to this example. If I have this point, 4, 2, and 6, 5. Well, here's my first point, so this would be like x of 1 and x of 2. This would be like our first y and our, whoop, hold on, I got that wrong. I'm sorry. This would be x of 1, y's of 1, and this would be our second point. So our second x and our second y. Okay? I won't make you represent points that way. I'm just doing this so you can understand. So if I find my slope is equal to my change in y. How did y change? Well, let me take my second x, my second y, subtract my first, over my second x, subtract my first. So that would be 5 minus 2. This is my second y, subtract the first y, all over 6 is my second x, minus 4, which is my first x. This turns into 3 over 2, and I leave it like that. You always want to leave slope improper. I want you to analyze the slope for a second and think to yourself, would this be a big slope or a small slope? Remember that this 3 represents how our height is changing, and this 2 represents how my distance is changing. So it looks like my height is increasing faster than my distance, so that would be a steep slope. I want to extend this. Let's say we have the point -2, -3, and 0, -5. And I wanted to say, what is the slope between these 2 points? What would the slope of the line be that has these 2 points? Well, again, slope is a steepness. Slope is a change. What is a change? You take your second y, subtract your first, over your second x, subtract your first. So my slope is going to be -5 minus a -3, all over 0 minus a -2. This turns into -5 plus 3 over 0 plus 2, which is -2 over 2, which turns into a -1, and we leave it like that. So that concludes our second part of this section. You're just going to be applying these skills as you work through them. If you have any questions, reference your notes, reference our notes.